The more you try to prove your worth to someone who already doubts it, the more you lose it yourself. Never text them again. Trust me on this. I know that voice in your head is loud. It keeps saying, just one more message, just one more chance. Maybe if you say the right thing, they'll finally get it. But let me hit you with the truth. If they cared, you wouldn't have to convince them. If they respected you, you wouldn't be sitting there rehearsing the perfect sentence in your notes app. So before you even think about texting them again, stop, take a deep breath, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and stay with me, because this one right here, this might just save your self-worth. Hey folks, imagine this. You're a lighthouse, strong, still, and shining. But instead of guiding ships, you keep running into the ocean, chasing boats that were never meant to dock at your shore. You're not just getting wet, you're drowning. And for what? For someone who saw your light and chose to drift away anyway? My friends, that's not love. That's emotional suicide. You deserve better than that. Let's be real, some of you are caught in a loop right now. You check your phone every 5 minutes like it holds the answer to your worth. You overthink every pause, every seen but unreplied. You make excuses for them. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they need space. No, they're not confused. They're comfortable. Comfortable knowing you'll keep showing up even when they've stopped caring. That's not confusion. That's control. And every time you send that next message, you're feeding it. We've been fed a lie that if we just care enough, love hard enough, stay patient long enough, we'll earn their affection. But here's the truth. Real connection doesn't need convincing. It doesn't make you beg for crumbs of attention, and it sure as hell doesn't make you feel invisible. You think silence is scary? Nah, silence is sacred. Silence is where your power lives. It's the pause that makes them wonder, not the paragraph that makes them scroll. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. And in this case, your revenge isn't a better text. It's becoming someone they can't access anymore. Look, I know it hurts. Rejection stings. Silence feels like a punch to the chest. But let that pain teach you. Let it show you what you will no longer tolerate. Let it raise your standards so high that the next time someone ghosts you, you don't send a follow-up. You disappear without saying a word. You vanish not out of pettiness, but out of self-respect. Here's a little fun but true image. Texting someone who's ignoring you is like watering fake plants. You're giving life to something that can never grow. You're exhausting yourself trying to revive what was never real to begin with. It's time to stop that. It's time to take your hand off the keyboard and put it back on the wheel of your own life. And if you're still asking, but what if they come back? Let them. Let them come back to find a version of you that no longer waits, a version that doesn't chase, a version that leveled up in silence. So before we go any further, I want you to write this in the comments right now. I choose silence. That's your affirmation. That's your identity. That's your power. Because this isn't about getting them back. It's about getting you back. Press like, hit that subscribe button, and stay with me, my friends, because we're just getting started. Number 1. Silence is the answer. You're just not listening. The loudest truth is often told in silence. They saw your message. They read it. They even hovered over the reply button and still said nothing. That is your answer. You don't need another one, but your mind doesn't want to accept that, does it? You keep thinking, maybe they forgot. Maybe they're just going through something. Maybe tomorrow will be different. My friends, how many maybes does it take before you finally accept the one certainty? If they wanted to respond, they would have. If they respected you, they would have made it clear. If they cared, you wouldn't be here watching this video, wondering if silence means something or nothing. It means everything. Imagine you're standing in front of a locked door, knocking again and again. At first, you knock gently, then louder, then you start pleading. The lights are on. You hear movement. You know someone's in there. But the door never opens. How long do you keep knocking before you realize they just don't want to let you in? That's what texting them has become. A one-sided attempt to force open a door that's already been bolted from the inside. And yet, you still knock, because the alternative is silence. And silence terrifies you, because silence feels like you don't matter. It feels like they've forgotten. It feels like they've moved on. And you're still stuck in that place where their attention defined your worth. But here's the lie. You think silence is a punishment. It's not. It's a message, a mirror, a teacher. And if you dare to really hear it, it will tell you exactly what you need to do. They're not too busy. They're not overwhelmed. They're not waiting for the right moment to craft a thoughtful reply. They're just not invested. And deep down, you already know this. But acknowledging it means you'd have to face what hurts the most. They're no longer choosing you. And that stings. That burns. That makes your chest feel like it's collapsing under the weight of, what did I do wrong? But here's a better question. Why are you trying to hold on to someone who's already let go? Why are you filling the silence with desperate explanations when that silence was the only truth they had the courage to give you? Let's break the lie that keeps people stuck. If I stop texting, they'll forget me. No. If you stop texting, they'll finally realize you're gone. You see, the silence you fear is actually your greatest ally. It's the only thing left that holds power. Words have failed. Emotions have been spilled. Texts have been ignored. Now it's time for something they can't scroll past. Your absence. It won't be easy. Your fingers will hover over the screen. You'll type and delete 100 drafts. You'll wonder what they're doing, who they're with, if they even noticed you stopped reaching out. That's the withdrawal phase, not from them, but from the version of you that needed their validation to feel whole. That version is dying. And yeah, it's painful, but necessary, because something stronger is being born in its place. When you finally stop chasing, you'll start healing. When you finally stop speaking, they'll start listening to the void you left, to the shift in energy, to the silence that used to be filled with your attention. It's not about playing games. It's about respecting yourself enough to stop offering your heart to someone who doesn't know what to do with it. As Epictetus said, if someone does not value your presence, then perhaps you should give them the gift of your absence. And that absence? That's what they'll remember. That's what will echo louder than any message you could send. So if you're still waiting for a sign, let this be it. If you're still crafting that next text, delete it. Not because they don't deserve a reply, but because you deserve peace. Say it with me in the comments. My silence is my answer. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to walk away and stay gone. Stay with me, folks. What's coming next will show you how silence does more than speak. It shifts the whole dynamic. Number 2. You're texting for closure, but it's killing your power. Seeking closure from someone who hurt you is like asking the thief who robbed you to help you find what they took. Let's just be brutally honest here. Most people don't send that one last message because they need to talk. They send it because they're hoping to feel better. They want answers. They want validation. They want to hear something that makes all the pain make sense. And that, my friends, is where the trap begins. You're not texting them for love, you're texting them for closure. But what you don't realize is, every time you hit send, you're handing over a piece of your dignity. One line at a time. And it's killing your power. Imagine this. You're standing in a burning house, looking for the person who lit the match, begging them to explain why they did it. But the flames are already rising, the smoke is choking you, and you're wasting precious time trying to understand the arsonist, instead of walking out and saving yourself. That's what texting for closure looks like. You're stuck inside the pain, hoping the very person who caused it will suddenly care enough to help you heal it. But let me say this loud and clear, they're not going to give you what you're looking for. If they had the emotional maturity to give you clarity, they wouldn't have ghosted you in the first place. See, closure isn't a conversation. It's a decision. It's not about what they say, it's about what you decide to accept. But I get it. You want to believe they're just unaware. You think if you explain your heart one more time, they'll finally understand. You think if you just express how deeply they hurt you, it will move them. That somehow your honesty will spark their empathy. But let me break the lie wide open. If someone cared, they would have already shown it. Silence is a choice. Indifference is a response. And let's be real, you're not texting to heal. You're texting to reconnect. Even if you don't admit it to yourself, you're hoping that closure will come with a side of, "I miss you too." You're hoping the conversation will magically turn into reconnection. But you know what that really is? Emotional gambling. And the house always wins. Here's the hard truth. They moved on when they stopped replying. You stayed behind, stuck in a story you keep trying to rewrite with a different ending. But no amount of texting will change the chapter they've already closed. And the longer you hold on, the harder it is to write a new one for yourself. Let me ask you something, and really think about this. What exactly do you expect them to say that will satisfy your pain? What magical sentence do you believe will finally make it all make sense? There is none, because even if they did reply, even if they did say, "Sorry, I didn't know what I wanted," or "You were amazing, I just wasn't ready," it still wouldn't heal the part of you that's hurting. Because the pain isn't from what they said or didn't say, it's from the fact that you were willing to give them everything, and they gave you nothing back. You don't need closure, you need self-respect. You need to choose peace over proving a point. You need to understand that walking away without an explanation isn't weakness. It's power, it's strength, it's growth. It's becoming the kind of person who doesn't beg for clarity from someone who left them in confusion. And I promise you this, the day will come when you're glad they never responded. You'll look back and thank yourself for not sending that text, because instead of chasing ghosts, you chose to reclaim your soul. Instead of begging for answers, you found your own. And that, my friends, is the real closure. So if your fingers are itching to send that "just checking in" message, stop, look in the mirror, and ask yourself, am I texting for peace or for pain? Because if the answer is pain, then you already know what to do. Write this in the comments and mean it. I choose peace over closure. That's your power. That's your healing. That's your comeback. Don't wait for the ones who left to make you whole. You're already enough, and you don't need their permission to move on. Stay with me. The next part will show you why every text you send is digging the hole deeper, and how silence becomes your greatest weapon. Number 3. Every text lowers your value in their eyes. The more you chase what pulls away from you, the smaller you appear to it. Let's not sugarcoat it. Every time you send another text after being ignored, you're not reminding them of how much you care. You're reminding them that they can ignore you and still have your attention. You're showing them that they don't even need to lift a finger, and you'll still come running. And the more you do that, the more your value drops in their eyes. Not because you're not worthy, but because you've made yourself too available. And what comes easy, it never gets respected. My friends, let's use a little metaphor here. Imagine you're walking through a luxury store. The rare items are behind glass, guarded, high value. You admire them, you work for them. But now picture a table near the exit labeled free samples. Open, unlimited, take as many as you like. Which one do you treasure more? That's what's happening to your energy every time you keep texting them. You've moved from being the prized presence they once admired to the emotional free sample they've learned to ignore. And yet, you tell yourself, maybe if I just say the right thing, I can reignite the spark. You rehearse a clever line, a thoughtful message, something that will make them smile, make them remember. But let's stop right there. You're not texting to remind them of your worth. You're texting to earn it back. And when you do that, when you chase, when you prove, when you over-explain, you're putting them on the throne and kneeling before it. That's not love. That's submission. And love without respect? It dies. It's human psychology. People do not value what they don't have to work for. They're not waking up wondering about you because they don't have to. You're already there, lingering, typing, sending, double texting, waiting. And here's the wild part. They know it. They know you'll text again. They know you'll reach out. They know they don't have to do anything to keep you hooked. And that certainty, that predictability, it kills attraction. You think you're being consistent, but to them, you're being desperate. You think you're being vulnerable, but to them, you're being easy. You think you're just trying one last time, but to them, it's just another reminder that they've got you, and they didn't even have to try. And the lie that keeps you stuck is this: if I don't text, they'll forget about me. No. The truth is, if you do keep texting, they'll lose even more respect for you. Because nothing says, "You're beneath me," like someone who keeps knocking at a door that's already been slammed shut. And that door? It's not locked. You're just too afraid to walk away from it. So here's the turning point. It's time to stop asking, "What can I say to make them respond?" and start asking, "What am I proving by staying silent?" Because silence is a message. It says, "I know my worth." It says, "I'm not chasing anyone who treats me like an option." It says, "You don't get access to me just because you once had it." Let them feel the loss. Let them sit in the emptiness where your energy used to be. Because trust me, silence does what 100 texts never could. It creates distance. It creates mystery. It creates value. And in that space, they don't just notice your absence, they question their decision to let you go. So if you're staring at your screen, fingers hovering, about to send that, "Hey, just checking in" message, pause. Ask yourself, am I increasing my value or giving it away? Because every text is a transaction, and right now, you're paying with your power. It's time to stop. Not just for them, but for you, for your healing, for your peace, for your future. Because every second you spend chasing someone who's ignoring you is a second you're stealing from the version of you that's trying to rise. Write this in the comments and make it real. My silence builds value. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you don't need to chase anyone who doesn't see your worth. Stay with me, because next, we're going deeper. You're about to learn the harsh truth behind all those mixed signals, and why the confusion was never real to begin with. Number 4. If they wanted you, you wouldn't have to guess. Confusion is just rejection dressed in polite silence. Let's get one thing clear, my friends. When someone truly wants you in their life, you don't have to decode their every move. You don't have to analyze the timestamps, wonder why they were online but didn't reply, or lose sleep wondering what you did wrong. You don't have to guess. When it's real, it's clear. And the fact that you're here right now, replaying conversations, dissecting their silence like it's a puzzle, that's your answer. You're not reading a mystery novel. You're just refusing to accept the ending. But deep down, you already know it. You're just hoping the story flips itself, that the villain suddenly becomes the hero, that the one who ghosted you turns around and says, "Sorry, I was scared, I was confused." But you're not dealing with confusion. You're dealing with avoidance. And they're not afraid of losing you. They're comfortable knowing they haven't. You ever notice how the people who actually care about you don't leave you guessing? They show up, they reply, they ask how you're doing without needing a reason. You don't have to text them 3 times or wonder if your message got lost in some cosmic black hole. No, you only play detective when you're being emotionally starved. That confusion you're drowning in, it's not a puzzle to solve. It's a sign to leave. Let's paint a picture. Imagine standing at a train station, bags packed, heart full, and the train you're waiting for never shows up. You check your ticket again and again. You ask people around you. You tell yourself maybe it's delayed, maybe it's stuck on another track. But deep down, you know the truth. That train isn't coming. And you can either keep standing there in the cold, or you can walk away and find a new direction. That's where you are right now, waiting for someone who's not on the way. And every moment you wait is a moment you lose. Let's break the lie. Maybe they just don't know how to express their feelings. No, people express themselves to who they want to. You ever seen someone light up when a person they like texts them? They don't hesitate, they don't delay, they don't stay silent and call it processing. They respond quickly, clearly, and with effort. The truth is, if they wanted to talk to you, they would have by now. If they wanted you in their life, you wouldn't be watching videos like this trying to make sense of their silence. And I get it, it hurts. You want to believe it's just bad timing. You want to believe they care, but are just going through something. But here's what you need to understand. People make time for what they value. And if you're constantly on the receiving end of mixed signals, then maybe the message was never mixed. Maybe you just didn't want to hear it. So let me give you something even stronger than closure. Let me give you clarity. If they left you guessing, they left you on purpose. If they're silent, they're sending a message. If they didn't fight to keep you, it means they were okay with losing you. And that, my friends, is all the clarity you need. Stop asking yourself what you did wrong. Stop trying to decode the unread messages and the sudden distance. Start asking yourself why you think love is supposed to be confusing. It's not. Real love doesn't hide. Real care doesn't ignore. Real connection doesn't leave you hanging. And if it's not real, then why are you still holding on? Here's the power move. Don't wait for the explanation that's never coming. Don't beg for clarity from someone who gave you confusion. Walk away, not to make them chase you, not to play games. Walk away to protect your peace. Walk away because you're done shrinking yourself to fit someone else's uncertainty. Write it in the comments and claim it. If it's unclear, it's not for me. Say it like you mean it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your heart isn't a guessing game. You deserve certainty, You deserve effort. You deserve to stop waiting on someone who should have been sure about you from the beginning. Stay with me, because next we're exposing the truth about why they're not confused at all. They're just too comfortable knowing you'll never leave. And that ends today. Number 5. They're not confused. They're comfortable, knowing you'll stay. They're not sending mixed signals. You're just ignoring the clear ones. Let's stop pretending. Let's stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. Stop acting like they're lost, like they're torn between emotions, like they just don't know how to express what they feel. That's the story you keep telling yourself because it's easier to believe than the truth. But here's the truth, my friends. They're not confused. They're not emotionally overwhelmed. They're just comfortable. Comfortable knowing that no matter how they treat you, no matter how long they go silent, no matter how many times they disappear and reappear, you'll still be there. Let that sink in. You're not dealing with someone who's unsure. You're dealing with someone who's sure enough that they can mistreat you and still not lose you. That's not confusion. That's confidence. Their confidence in your weakness. And every time you send another text, every time you double message, every time you check their story and wonder why they haven't replied, you reinforce that confidence. You remind them that they don't have to do anything because you'll do everything. Let's flip the picture. Imagine a bird in a cage with the door wide open. The bird doesn't fly away, not because it can't, but because it knows there's always food in the cage. You're the one keeping the door open. You're the one still feeding them, emotionally, energetically, and mentally. And they don't fly away for good, because they don't have to. Why leave when you never take the food away? But here's the part that really stings. They like knowing you're still there. They like knowing you're still watching their stories, that you're still available, that no matter how cold they act, you'll eventually reach out. That's power, not romantic confusion, not emotional trauma, just pure, silent control. You've become predictable, and they've learned how to use that. The lie you've been feeding yourself is this: they're just not ready yet. But what you're really saying is, I'm willing to stay stuck in limbo until they decide I'm worth it. My friends, that's not patience. That's self-abandonment. That's handing over your value and praying they recognize it one day. But here's the twist. People rarely value what they didn't have to work for. The easier you are to keep, the easier you are to ignore. They're not waking up thinking about how they wronged you. They're not regretting the silence, because they know the moment they want a hit of your energy, they can get it. All it takes is a one-word message from them, and you'll light up like nothing ever happened. That's not attraction, that's emotional manipulation. So here's what needs to happen. You have to become unpredictable. You have to become unavailable. You have to stop giving them the emotional safety net they've grown comfortable with. Because the truth is, they'll never respect you as long as they know they still own your attention. And I get it. It's terrifying to go silent. You think, what if they move on? But here's the question that really matters. What if they don't come back and you finally realize you're better without them? That's the fear beneath the fear, not losing them, but losing the illusion you've been clinging to. But I promise you, when you finally let go, you gain something so much better: yourself. And when you stop being emotionally available to the wrong people, you create space for the right ones. Ones who don't leave you guessing, ones who don't use your kindness as leverage, ones who won't treat your heart like a backup plan. So stop feeding the comfort, stop rewarding the silence, stop being the emotional safety net for someone who won't even give you a thread of consistency. This is your line in the sand. Write this in the comments and own it. I will not be their comfort zone. Say it loud. Say it for yourself. Say it because it's time they felt what it's like when you stop showing up. Stay with me, because what's coming next is the truth about why this isn't even about them anymore. It's about your identity, your self-respect, and how walking away without a single word becomes your loudest message. Number 6. You don't need their response. You need your self-respect back. Chasing a response is how people lose themselves, trying to hold on to someone who already let go. Let's be clear. What you're really craving isn't their message. It's not the, "Hey, sorry I've been busy," or the, "I've just been thinking." What you're really chasing is the feeling that you still matter to them. You want to believe there's still a door open, still a chance, still something left. But what you don't realize is, every time you chase that feeling through a text, you're trading something much bigger, your self-respect. That one message you keep writing and rewriting, hoping it lands just right. That's not connection, it's desperation disguised as effort. And deep down, you know it. You're not texting them because you're in a good place. You're texting because you feel empty and you think maybe, just maybe, their reply will fill that silence inside your chest. But here's the harsh truth. Even if they did reply, it wouldn't fix what's broken. Because what's broken isn't the conversation, it's the power dynamic. And as long as you keep texting someone who has no urgency to reply, you're placing yourself beneath them. Picture it like this. You're standing in front of a mirror that only reflects your worth when someone else says you have it. But that's not a mirror. It's a trap. It conditions you to believe that you only matter when they say you do. And that's how you end up begging for crumbs of attention that don't even nourish your soul. You scroll through old conversations like a starving person sniffing empty plates, hoping to taste something that's no longer there. That's not love, my friends. That's emotional starvation. You don't need their response. You need your boundaries back. You need your pride back. You need to look in the mirror and say, "I'm not going to beg someone to care about me." Because someone who cares doesn't need to be reminded. They don't need follow-ups. They don't disappear for days, only to reappear when it's convenient. And let's break another lie while we're at it. Maybe they just need time. No, if they needed time, they would have communicated that. Silence isn't time, it's distance. And the longer you accept it, the wider the gap becomes. So stop calling it space. Stop calling it healing. Start calling it what it is, disinterest. And disinterest doesn't need closure, it needs a cutoff. Look, I know this is hard. I know walking away feels like giving up. But ask yourself, what are you holding on to? Their potential, their old self, the version of them who used to care? That person doesn't exist anymore. And until you accept that, you'll keep trying to wake up a version of them that's no longer in the room. You are not someone's emotional backup plan. You are not someone's safety net for when they're bored, lonely, or need validation. You are not a vending machine of reassurance they can press whenever it suits them. And you sure as hell aren't a placeholder until someone better shows up in their life. You're not asking too much. You're just asking the wrong person. And the moment you realize that is the moment you stop waiting for a reply and start remembering who you are. Because the real win isn't getting them to respond, it's getting you back. The you that didn't rely on outside validation. The you that didn't need someone else's attention to feel whole. The you that walked with confidence, not questions. Let's flip this whole thing around. Imagine how powerful you'll feel when you stop checking your phone, when you stop hoping they'll reply, when you start focusing on yourself and you realize that your silence, your stillness, Your restraint is the loudest thing they've ever heard from you. That's power. That's self-respect. And that's the version of you that you're becoming now. Not because they came back, but because you came back to yourself. Write this in the comments and let it echo. I choose self-respect over response. Let them wonder where your energy went. Let them sit in the silence they created. Because when you stop chasing, you stop bleeding for people who never even tried to bandage you. And what's coming next? That's where the transformation begins. Stay with me, folks. We're not done yet. Number 7. Your energy is not cheap. Stop spending it on ghosts. Where your energy goes, your identity grows. Be careful who you feed your fire to. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. How much energy have you burned thinking about them? How many nights have you stared at the ceiling, phone in hand, wondering why they haven't replied? How many hours have you spent replaying old conversations, reading between lines that weren't even written with intention, trying to extract meaning from silence? My friends, that energy, that fire inside you, it wasn't meant to be wasted on someone who disappeared without a word. It was meant to build you. You keep giving your power to a ghost, someone who vanished the moment things got real, someone who used to be warm and now greets your name with cold indifference. And still, you feed them. Not with your money, not with your time, but with your attention, with your thoughts, with your soul. And for what? For the chance that maybe they'll remember what they left behind? You're pouring gold into a well that's already run dry. And the deeper you go, the more you realize this isn't about love anymore. This is about obsession. And obsession doesn't heal. It drains. Imagine your energy like a currency. Every thought you give them, that's a withdrawal. Every time you check their profile, another withdrawal. Every time you draft that text, read their old message, wonder what they're doing. Withdrawal, withdrawal, withdrawal. And what are you getting in return? Silence, disrespect, confusion. You're investing in someone who isn't even checking their balance sheet. And here's the twisted part. They probably know you're still thinking about them. They might not be replying, but they feel the pull. They feel the weight of your attention. Energy doesn't lie. And as long as you're still locked on them, still giving them space in your mind, they feel powerful. They might not care enough to reach out, but they care just enough to enjoy the control. But here's where it stops. Right here, right now. Because your energy, it's sacred, it's limited, and it's yours. It was never meant to be spilled on someone who made a choice not to keep you. You don't chase people who walk away from your light. You become the sun they can no longer look at without regret. Let's break the lie that keeps you stuck. But I gave them so much, I can't just let go now. Yes, you can, and you must. Because every second you hold on to the past is a second you betray your future. Every ounce of energy you waste trying to bring someone back is energy you could be pouring into becoming the version of you that never begs again. Go build something. Go lift something. Go create something. Go learn a new skill. Channel that obsession into becoming undeniable. Not for revenge, not to prove a point, but because you owe it to yourself to stop leaking energy into people who treat you like background noise. Do you want to know the fastest way to get their attention? Stop giving them yours. Go silent. Go focused. Go invisible. Let them feel the absence of your presence so deeply that they have no choice but to notice. And even if they don't, you'll notice something else. You don't need them. Not now. Not ever. Because you turned that pain into power. That silence into strategy. That rejection into rebirth. Your attention is not a charity. Your energy is not disposable. You're not a backup plan, a temporary fix, or a maybe later option. You're the main event. And if they couldn't see that, good. Let them squint in your glow when they try to come back and find you've moved on without them. So say it in the comments like you mean it. My energy is sacred. Let them watch you rise from the silence they thought would break you. Let them witness the power of someone who took all that wasted attention and turned it into elevation. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world what happens when you finally stop giving what was never appreciated. Stay with me, because next we flip the entire dynamic. The script changes. You go from chasing to disappearing, and trust me, that's when everything starts to shift. Number 8, flip the script. Go silent and watch everything shift. When you become silent, they hear everything they've been avoiding. It's time to flip the script. You've played your part long enough. The one who cares more, texts first, waits around, holds on, hopes. But let's be honest, my friends, that role is exhausting. It strips you down piece by piece until you're no longer showing up as you. You're showing up as a version of yourself edited to be easier to ignore. And now it's time to rewrite the story. Not for them, for you. Because the second you go silent, everything begins to shift. You think your words are what will bring them back, that if you just say it the right way, they'll finally get it. But that's not how this works. You've said enough, explained enough, overcompensated enough, and still, they've treated your honesty like it was noise. So now, you give them the one thing they can't ignore, your silence. Because silence doesn't ask for attention, it commands it. Silence makes them feel the absence they didn't know they took for granted. Imagine a stage where someone always plays the background music. You're the melody in their life. You check in, you care, you try. But the moment the music stops, the silence becomes deafening. That's what happens when you stop showing up. When your name doesn't pop up on their screen. When your energy isn't orbiting around them anymore. Suddenly, the background becomes the spotlight, and they start to notice what they've lost. And here's the beauty of it. You don't even have to do anything. No dramatic unfollow, no angry texts, just stillness, just the refusal to chase what walked away. That's when the power flips, because now they're the one wondering, where did you go? Why haven't you reached out? Are you over them? Are you moving on? That curiosity is louder than any message you could have sent. But this shift isn't just about making them notice. It's about you noticing yourself again. Because in silence, you'll hear the voice you silenced trying to please someone who never deserved your effort. You'll start to feel what it's like to pour into yourself instead of pouring out just to keep someone else full. And that version of you, the one who's focused, calm, unavailable, is the most magnetic version you've ever been. They'll feel it. Even if they don't say it, they will feel the loss of your energy. And whether it's days, weeks, or months from now, they might circle back. They might test the waters. But by the time they do, you won't be standing where they left you. You'll be too far ahead, too evolved, too whole to entertain the idea of shrinking back into their orbit. Let's break the final lie. Going silent makes you look weak. No, staying silent is what makes you strong, because it means you finally understood that your value isn't up for negotiation. It means you stopped participating in your own devaluation. It means you're no longer willing to audition for a role in someone else's life when you've always been the main character in your own. The people who truly care about you, they notice your silence. They feel your distance. They respect your absence because they respected your presence. And the ones who don't? They were never worth chasing in the first place. So flip the script, walk off the stage, let the silence speak, let the stillness echo, let the absence do what the presence could never achieve, make them realize what they've lost. And even if they don't, you'll realize what you've gained: peace, power, self-respect, and the kind of confidence that can't be shaken by someone's lack of a reply. Write it in the comments and stamp it into your soul. My silence speaks volumes. Say it with pride. Say it for yourself. Let the world see you rise, not by making noise, but by disappearing with dignity. Stay with me, folks, because the final message is coming. And it's not just about them anymore. It's about who you become when you stop looking backward and start rebuilding forward. This is your rebirth. Number 9. Conclusion. The real win was never getting them back. It was getting you back. You don't lose them when you walk away. You lose yourself when you stay too long. So here we are, the final moment. You've heard the truth, every bitter drop of it. You've faced what most people spend years avoiding: the silence, the confusion, the rejection, the waiting, the overthinking. But if you've stayed with me this far, then I know one thing about you. You're not here to keep suffering. You're here to rise. Let's get something straight once and for all. You never needed their reply. You needed recovery. You never needed that one perfect text. You needed to stop needing anyone who treats you like an option. The biggest lie you've been sold is that your value is tied to how someone else treats you. But let me break that lie once and for all. Your value is constant, untouched, unshaken. Their silence didn't change your worth. It only revealed theirs. Every time you chose to reach out when they stayed silent, you chipped away at your own self-respect. Not because you were weak, but because you were hopeful. You believed in something that was no longer there, and I'll never shame you for that. Hope is beautiful, but chasing someone who's no longer reaching back, that's not hope anymore. That's self-abandonment dressed up in loyalty. You've got to ask yourself, what have you really been fighting for? Was it love, or was it your need to feel seen, needed, wanted? Because if it was the latter, then it's time you understand this. Nobody will ever give you that feeling consistently but you. It has to come from within. That's why your silence is sacred. That's why your distance is healing. That's why the moment you decided to stop chasing was the moment you started reclaiming your soul. You think the silence is about them? No. The silence is the space where you finally find you again. No more waiting, no more begging, no more over-analyzing texts that never came. No more staying up at night hoping they miss you. You're done with that. You're done giving your royalty to people who don't know how to treat it. Because now, you move different. You are different. You wake up tomorrow and you don't check your phone first. You check your pulse, your purpose. You focus on the gym, on your craft, on your career, on your mental clarity. You replace the question, "Why didn't they text me back?" with, "What can I build today that gets me closer to my best self?" Because that's what they never saw coming. You getting stronger in silence. They thought you'd wait forever. They thought they had time. They thought you were just another option sitting on the shelf. But shelves are for things that don't move. And you're not made to sit still. You're made to ascend. This isn't about revenge. It's about revelation. The kind where you wake up and realize, I don't want them back. I want myself back. The version of you that didn't beg, that didn't text twice, that didn't settle for halfway love, that didn't wait on a reply to feel worthy. And you know what happens when you fully accept this? They will feel it. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, But one day, when they scroll past your profile and see that glow, when they notice your silence is no longer sad, it's powerful, they'll feel the loss. And when that day comes, it won't matter. Because you'll have already moved on. You'll have already won. So here's your final move. Let go, completely, not half-hearted, not secretly hoping they reach out. Let go like your future depends on it, because it does. Type this in the comments right now. I choose me. Not them, not their attention, not their silence. You. And if this message hit you where it needed to, then don't just watch. Don't just nod along. Show the algorithm that healing matters. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to wake up from the same lie you just broke out of. Your silence isn't weakness, it's transformation.